Alright, so here is the actual Nintendo Switch dock, and this is a little adapter. It says Miriam on here, but when I bought it, it said BASSTOP dock. And I bought it a long time ago. I bought it around the same time when I was doing these BASSTOP shell adapters for the actual Joy-Cons and Nintendo Switch. And then I just bought this and just never got around to using it. As you can see, you're basically taking out the guts of this thing, which would be in here, and sticking that in here. And this would make you a little portable dock. I recently received and made a video on the Genki. Well, I purchased it, but it finally got mailed to me, which is still much smaller than this one, and that's your cord. And so this one you have to use this actual Nintendo Switch cord, but of course there's still a possibility this one could brick your Switch. Shouldn't, but doesn't mean it won't. This is just a plastic shell, so it's still using the same guts as Nintendo, and the same, you should be using it with the same Nintendo Switch power charger, so there should be no danger of it bricking your Switch. This device comes with no instructions. I watched Wolfden's video as a little tutorial. It comes with its own tools, but I already have this little E.Durable kit, and I feel like it's going to be easier for my big hands to use these. So this is what I use to take apart the actual Nintendo Switch. You can see it has a little Y shape on here for your various sizes. So these screws are tiny. Yeah, the gray one works better. I don't know if you can see that, but it is an actual like a Y tip. It's not really like a Phillips. It's a, I guess that's like a Nintendo thing, trying to keep people out of it, I guess. But it just kind of makes it a pain in the ass, which is why I like this little toolkit I have. So this piece is all attached. I thought this little piece would come off, but it doesn't. Alright, so I've taken out the 4 screws here and then the 4 screws here. In theory, this should just pop right out, right? Yeah, so there you go. Just one piece. And then you gotta take the little door off. And then this, I believe, should just come off right now as well. You pull these little clips back right here. I just broke mine, so hopefully this works. Now this little piece needs to pop up, and then you can pull that out there, and this little guy will pop right off. So be careful with that. Those wires are tiny, as you can see. It's just a little bitty piece. So we just took this piece out of here and we're going to put it in here. But of course, there still is this little ribbon cable and this little plug guy. Although I believe that just goes to this little light, which won't be on this one. Now under here is just regular Phillips heads. So that should be the red guy, right? So those red ones are Phillips. So again, you can use these little tiny screwdrivers, but that doesn't seem very comfortable to me. So I removed 3 screws. Now there's a bunch of little screws down these little holes here too. I don't know if you can see that in the camera or not, but there's a little Phillips down there. You're gonna want a magnetic screwdriver to get those little tiny screws out, and then there's 3 more over here, right above this ribbon cable, and be careful not to damage it. Now once you get that screw, the whole thing will kind of lose its shape. So you can see where all the screws, this is where the screws were. And this is just the front piece of the switch. And now you need to get this piece out. And that just pops right off. Yeah, so that was just the light. There is a different version that's not the BASSTOP and or Miriam that I think does retain that light, but this one does not. And I just bought this one because I thought it was BASSTOP, so I thought, because I had a good experience with these, so I thought I'd keep the same brand, even though it has a different name on the box. I think I'll unscrew this too. So there's more screws to get out. So there are some springs in there. Yeah, and then you got to kind of bend this guy to get that to pop out. Wolfden just snapped his in half, which I might do the same thing. It just kind of flew out there. Hopefully I caught that big spring in there. So essentially, this guy should go here. You know, obviously this is the USB-C port. So it is definitely a snug fit in there. And this guy should line up, of course. So yeah, it goes this way. So I'm gonna put this guy under here, this on top, and then kind of scooch this around, blue side up. Kind of, I'm gonna do this first. Blue side up. And then kind of squish it in there. Be careful with that guy, but kind of tuck him in there so he's not getting pinched. I guess it just fits like that. So there are like some nubs here to kind of guide it in place, and then there's two holes here that you could screw down. So I'm gonna get them out of here. So I got a bunch of tiny screws, really tiny screws. Hey, I don't know what those tiny screws are for, so we're just gonna ignore those. Alright, so now I got pretty much everything where it should go. Two screws here. These other ones I think will be held down by the actual case. As you can see, when this closes up, now I should have all my ports, and then I should be able to use these screws. Alright, like any good project, we have a shitload of extra parts. Some kind of sticky thing here I was probably supposed to use, but again, there's no instructions in the box. So this does not seem to go down any, so I think it's alright. If I shake it, nothing happens. So let me get a monitor over here and we'll see if all this works. Here is the new dock. This is the standard Nintendo Switch charger. Obviously this is Nintendo Switch. This is a portable monitor I use. So it has an HDMI input and it takes power, right? So we're gonna plug in the Nintendo Switch. We're gonna plug that into this. There's only one C port here. We'll plug that in, and then this HDMI cord is going to this monitor here. And we're going to plug that in here. And now when I plug the switch in, in theory, it should work. Nah, it wasn't on there. Now it's on there. And boom. Mario. Alright, so essentially we're working. So here's the switch, of course. And if I unplug the switch, you can see now it's here. And then if I plug it back in, boom. It's working out like a champ. And of course, then you can use a controller. So that's a pretty good setup. I mean, as long as that's working, everything should be working fine. So yeah, basically in a non-COVID world, I'm a traveling businessman, and I would just take this little dock here instead of taking this gigantic dock here. I could fit this in my backpack. I pack this monitor already in my carry-on, or my checked luggage, and I use it for actual work. and then I could use it for the Nintendo Switch as well. You know, a lot of times when I traveled, I would not take this big ass dock with me because it takes up a lot of space. So I was excited for this one just because it is so small, and of course I don't need the extra power cord. So all I need to do is plug the HDMI into here and the USB power into here, or the USB into the Switch, and then the HDMI into here. And this is your actual power outlet. So now the good thing about that is how small it is. The bad thing, of course, it's not an official Nintendo product, so it could brick your Switch. This one will not brick the Switch because it is the actual Switch itself. The only negative here is that you need to have the Nintendo Switch charger. Now for me, the Nintendo Switch charger will fit in my backpack just fine, and I can use it to charge my Note 9 or Note 10 Plus. So that doesn't really hurt me because I carry it around anyhow. And this little guy, I can put in my checked luggage. I can put it in my pocket. It's so small, right? So I can put it in my backpack wherever I want. That's going to make traveling a lot easier, and I'll be more inclined to play my Switch on a TV or monitor in the hotel room. Alright, so as far as I can tell, this is a winner. So, alright, thanks for checking me out. If you have any questions, let me know, and then we'll update it from there. So I guess I should also point out, it does not have the little nubs that would normally guide you. So this piece that I broke apart has these little nubs, right? And those would go into here. That way it doesn't slide, right? And of course, there is no light letting you know what's on, but you can see the screen, so that's not really so much of a concern. The concern really is how much pressure that's going to put, but it's a pretty snug fit. I mean, you can see it's a pretty snug fit. So the only concern, and it has this little bumper here that goes in here. So that's pretty good, maybe even better. So it should be alright. If there was pressure on this, it would probably just break this, and I doubt it would break this part. I mean, I don't know that for sure, but that's what I would assume. So, I mean, I'd rather break this than the Switch, of course. But it's probably better to risk breaking this, than to risk breaking your Switch with this. Although I'm still going to use this, and I'm still going to use this. I'll try them both out on the road, and eventually probably make a follow-up video once, traveling starts again. Alright, thanks for checking me out.